ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकीम्। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। This is visible to everyone.
Yes,
We are
Prabhu.
reading from Canto 3, Chapter 11, Calculation of Time from Atom. That's the name of the chapter. It's 20 to 22, 20, 21 and 22. We'll start with this. I'm seeing that Sandhya Mataji just joined, and this verse starts with the
Yeah,
word Sandhya.
I was also looking at it.
Read verse and translation purpose. Sandhya sandhyam shayorantar kala satasankhyayo tameva hur yugam tajna yatra dharmo vidhiyate. Sandhya sandhyam shayorantar kala satasankhyayo tameva hur yugam tajna yatra dharmo vidhiyate. Sandhya sandhyamshayorantar kala satasankhyayo tamevahuryugam tajna yatra dharmo vidhiyate. Sandhya, the translational period before. Sandhyamshayo, and translation period after. Antaha, within. Yeah, that which. Kalaha, duration of time. Satasankhayo, hundreds of years. Tameva, that period. Ahu, they call. Yugam, millennium. Tatnya, the expert astronomers. Yatra, wherein. Dharmaha, religion. Vidhiyate, is performed. Translational periods before and after every millennium, which are a few hundred years as aforementioned, are known as Yuga Sandhyas, or the conjunctions of two millenniums, according to the expert astronomers. In those periods, all kinds of religious activities are. I will read the next two shlokas also, because these are all in continuation. धर्मश्चतुष्पान् मनुजान् कृते समन्वर्तते स एवान्येषु धर्मेण व्यतिपादेन वर्धत. Dharmah, religion. Chatushpad, complete four dimensions. Manujan, mankind. Krite, in the Satyuga. Samanuvartate, properly maintained. Sa, that. Eva, certainly. Anyeshu, in other. Adharmena, by the influence of irreligion. Vyeti, declined. Padeha, by one part. Vartate, gradually increasing proportion. O Vidura, the Satya millennium, mankind properly and completely maintained the principles of religion. But in other millenniums, religion gradually decreased by one part as irreligion was proportionately admitted. In the Satya millennium, complete execution of religious principles prevailed. Gradually, the principles of religion decreased by one part in each of the subsequent millenniums. In other words, at present, there is one part religion and three parts irreligion. Therefore, people in this age are not very happy. त्रिलोक्यायुगसाहस्रं बहिर् आब्रह्मणो दिनं तावत्येव निशातात यन्निमीलित लति विश्वसृक्. Trilokya of the three worlds, Yuga, the four yugas, Sahasram, 1000, Vahi, outside of Abrahmanaha, up to Brahmaloka. Dinam is a day. Tavati, a similar period. Eva, certainly. Nisha is night. Tata, O dear one. Yat, because. Nimilati, goes to sleep. Vishwasrip, Brahma. Translation. Outside of the three planetary systems, Swarga, Martya, and Patala, the four yugas multiplied by 1000 comprise one day on the planet of Brahma. A similar period comprises night of Brahma, in which the creator of the universe goes to sleep. When Brahma goes to sleep in his night time, the three planetary systems below Brahmaloka are all submerged in the water of devastation. In this sleeping condition, Brahma dreams about the Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, takes instructions from the Lord for the rehabilitation of the devastated area of space. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंस्य। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरि वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हुकुम करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घायते गिरिं, यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरो दीनतारिणं। Hare Krishna. I am very happy to be with all the devotees from Nepal. I thank each and every one of you for joining today's um, discussion class. Very grateful to all of you. I still, just because of this program, I still feel very much part of our Nepali community. So I really thank each and every one of you for giving me this opportunity. So coming to today's discussion, there are three verses. This chapter is calculation of time. So basically, this is a discussion between Vidura and Maitreya. Maitreya is speaking to Vidura about space-time calculations. So different things have been spoken. Spatially, it is a bit easier to understand, I would say, about the descriptions that are given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, there can be some confusions because this is mostly technical discussion. But still, there is this discussion which helps us understand how this universe is created. Srimad Bhagavatam has been written 5,000 years ago on this date. And still, the information given in this is very relevant to the mankind. Most of us, it is quite convenient for us to think, even from the recorded history, that most of the scientific advancement has happened in the Western world. But when it comes to literature like Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literature, it gives us a completely different dimension of thought. It not only gives us advanced scientific understandings, but it also gives us sustainable advancement. So most of the things that we see in the scriptures are very much sustainable. Sustainable in the sense, like today, people are struggling to cope up with several problems that we ourselves have created and thrown it on the mankind, isn't it? Like problem of plastic, problem of fossil fuels. Again, the problem of nowadays, problem of batteries. So problem is only changing its shape. It is not gone per se. So nowadays, people also have problems in terms of their uh, mental state. They have anxiety, they have depression, they have all kinds of different mental disorders that are coming up. All these are because of I mean, some people can call it as the reason is modern technological advancement. But if we go to the deeper level, we understand that it's not the technological advancement that is causing these problems, but it is the uncontrolled mind of the human beings that is causing these problems. There is nothing wrong in advancing technologically. In fact, our ancestors, who were in the times of Srimad Bhagavatam, or even 1,000 years ago, they are much, much more advanced than us. At least we can see it from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam that even without having any kind of instruments that we have today, there is a very precise calculation of the dimensions of space and time, almost very accurate compared to what we see today. That means there must have been some kind of arrangement for them to perceive these things. Usually, we are taught that people are, 1,000 years ago it was a rock age, then iron age, then rock age or stone age. Stone age, iron age, these things are told to us. One of the arguments that I heard from one of the devotees is that if we collected samples from the core of the earth only at certain locations, then there is always a possibility that we are misled by the results of those analysis. Mainly because even in today's society, we see, although we have in the modern world we have technologically advanced so much, we can see that still there are places like the deep jungles of Africa where people don't even know how to wear clothes even today. Some of the tribes, they just roam around naked, and they are there, and there are so many advanced civilizations also. Now, in a given time setting, there is a lot of uh, non-uniformity. If you take any cross section of the society, there is a lot of non-uniformity in terms of technological advancement at any given time. Now, if most of the samples that we have collected uh, based on the modern scientific analysis, if we have collected some samples from the places of Earth where there has been a very low class civilization, then we would have got people, who are living in raw stone age or something like those samples. Now if you see something like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro or Indus Valley civilization, these are much more advanced actually. And like that, if we see, there is a lot of uncertainty in the ways that we are using to date these things. These are, we may say that, okay, according to this technique, this is how it would have been. But this is all, we really don't know how we can actually validate these things. So, those who are spiritually advanced, they actually don't need any validation. Not only spiritually, those who are inclined towards spirituality, they actually get their faith from following the Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Their way of, these are different ways of looking at things. Just like I was giving an example somewhere else. According to Ayurveda, our body is made up of three dhatus, that is mucus, bile, and air, Kapha, Vata, and Pitta. Similarly, there is another system of the same in the traditional Vedic system only. There is another system in which the body is looked at as an action of five airs, which are prana, apana, vyana, udana, and samana. You take the modern physiology, then it says that this body is a combination of meat, bones, different types of chemicals, all these things. So all are discussing about one object only, that is the body. But still, there are different ways of looking at it. One may give more complete understanding, one may give a lesser picture, a smaller picture of understanding. But all of them are describing the same object in their own way. Similarly, you can also see that if we look at what happened so many generations in the past, we may actually take the ways that are told to us in today's educational system, try to analyze. That is something in the past. We have analyzed it with some kind of, let's say, carbon dating kind of technique. Some people might have analyzed it through the Shastra. They are analyzing the same thing, but the results, the difference in results only shows that one type of analysis must be superior to another type of analysis. Now, which one is correct, which one is false, if we think as a layman, it is not very easy to understand. But as I said, those who are spiritually oriented, they always tend to believe that scriptures are superior. We all want to, we all accept that. But those who are those who are not so much spiritually inclined, they tend to think that no, there is still a lot more to explore. In any case, we can see that this world has been, I would use the word created, that's why this is called creation. Some people may say, attribute this cause of creation to, let's say, Lord Vishnu. Some people may say this is Big Bang. Some people may say it's all just because of chance. Different people have different opinion. We are not talking about which is right or which is wrong. But all these people commonly accept that this creation is not very simple. It is a highly complex mechanism. This everyone accepts commonly, right? So the complexity of something can help us understand that it's, if it has been created by someone, that person must have been very intelligent. This is one of the interpretations that a spiritualist usually do. But people say that, oh, if this is a creation which is created by a very intelligent person, then there are so many holes or loophole. So many drawbacks in this creation. One of the arguments people use is like, why are the rains falling in the ocean? It is not required there, right? So Bhagavatam actually kind of gives a very broad picture of the whole setting. The difference between the spiritual way of understanding or the scriptural, understanding it through the scripture or understanding through the science and technology. The basic difference is this. The basic difference is scriptures actually have a presumption that this world is created for a particular purpose. And modern science and technology says that, believes that this world has no purpose. So this is the basic difference between these two. And based on these presumptions, or we can say the foundations, both of these two things have evolved. And more, if we talk to a devotee, I'm not talking as a person who is practicing Krishna consciousness. I'm just trying to understand these two things in a very what do we say, in a very quantitative way. So what I was trying to say is that these two ways people are trying to look at this world, but more or less we can see that the modern man's way of understanding is actually creating more and more problems, because his presumption is that this world doesn't have any purpose. And even if we spoil this world, we are not held responsible. Why? Because we are just using this world and to our enjoyment, and then after that leave this world. That's why I remember there is an article by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Long ago it came. So it talks about is this world a hotel or a hospital? So hotel presumption, or hotel, if we assume that this world is like a hotel is a place where we all go to enjoy, right? Nice food, let's say some nice music. Recently I was in one of the hotels. They have a very nice sangeet going on when people are eating food. Maybe some places there is a dance show. Hotel gives us a picture of eat, drink and be merry, right? Hospital, on the other hand, gives a completely different picture. If you go there, in our devotee lingo, if we have to talk, we say that all Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi are there in the hospital. And the people, it is a very good place for a person who is trying to come back to his senses and try to understand, how complicated, how difficult it is to live in this world. People are simply struggling just to keep their life air within the body. All these four things are visible there. Janma, Mritu, Jara, Vyadhi are visible in the hospital. So, the hospital gives us an understanding that this world is not permanent. Anything that we earn in this world is going to be taken away at the time of death. Forget about whether we come back or not, that's a different question altogether. But working so hard doesn't make us happy. That's what we understand. So basically, these two kind of, hotel kind of uh, foundation, assuming this world to be a hotel is what a materialistic person thinks. He thinks that this place is meant for enjoyment. Whereas a person who is little bit of spiritual inclination, who has a bit of spiritual inclination, understands that this world is temporary, this world is dukkhalayam. This is very very easy to, it is very objective. It is very objective to understand this. When we understand that this is a place filled with suffering, then we tend to ask a question, why am I suffering? And from there, Atato Brahma Jigyasa actually begins. But if we keep thinking that no, this place is meant for enjoyment, then there is no end to how much we want to enjoy. There is a limit on how much we can enjoy. That's there. But how much we want to enjoy, there is no limit. People simply want to increase their happiness in different ways. So in this particular discussion, Srimad Bhagavatam, when the discussion about calculation of time is presented, one may ask a question, why is this discussion here? We say Bhagavatam is a Paramahamsa Samhita. Whatever I have spoken till now is kind of a introduction to the topic that I am going to discuss now. One may think that Bhagavatam is a Paramahamsa Samhita, then what is the need of speaking about space-time dimensions, all the arrangements of planets and all these things? We can just go ahead and discuss about the lives of great acharyas, great devotees. No, they are there, like Rutrasur, Chitraketu, Prahalad, all these devotees' pastimes are there. Their, um, the way they practiced bhakti is also there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Then why is this thing required? Why do we have to discuss about this calculation of time, space, and all? One of the purposes of discussing these things is to give a comprehensive understanding of the purpose of the world. To give a it is giving us, just like I discussed about the way the presumptions on which the scientific the modern scientific understanding is based, and the spiritual understanding is based upon, right? So these discussions are required for us to understand the whole picture in a more wholesome way, trying to relate to this material world helps us understand that, okay, I understand that this place is a place of misery. I also try to understand why am I suffering actually. That is because of my own actions in relation to the prakriti, that is the material nature, and in disconnection with the supreme lord. So the five topics that we have: Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Karma, and Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. If we see, Jiva has minute independence, Ishvara is completely independent, Jiva has minute independence, and when this Jiva acts in the realm of Bhautika Prakriti and Kala, then he generates karma. So this is the connection between Jiva and the rest of the three, which are Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. But if this Jiva acts in connection with Adhyatmika Prakriti, that is the spiritual nature, Krishna says about Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Masha. Both are divine energies only. One is Bhautika, that is physical nature. The other is spiritual nature. So both are both are divine only. In one verse, Krishna says, Mahatmanastu Mam Partha Daivim Prakriti Masha. Bhajanti Ananya Manaso Gnatva Bhutadimam. This he speaks about the spiritual nature, spiritual Prakriti, right? And the Daivi Heshu Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. Here also he is saying Daivi Heshu Gunamayi. Daivi is actually transcendental. But this is material nature, right? The material nature and the spiritual nature, these two are there. These two are Prakriti, the part of same Prakriti. How is this distinction coming? The distinction is coming because of the actions of Jiva. The Jiva acts independently from Supreme Lord, then he thinks that everything is meant for my enjoyment, like the hotel concept, right? But if Jiva understands that I am dependent upon Supreme Lord, then naturally everything can be used in Krishna's service is a corollary of this statement. Because I am servant of Krishna, I can use everything in service of Krishna. And the same Prakriti that is binding us, if we act independent to the Supreme Lord, will help us actually go closer to Supreme Lord if we actually use it in Krishna, in the Lord's service. Basically, that's the relation. So, Jiva acting under the influence of Kala and material nature will put us in a realm where we become victims of karma. But if Jiva actually works under the direction of transcendental nature, then we actually go closer to Krishna, that is the Supreme Lord. And the Supreme Lord has relationship with all other four. He has a relationship with Jiva, which is eternal. He has a relationship with Prakriti, which is also eternal. Right? Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. Two types of natures he discusses. He says one type of nature is Bhutagramasa Evayam Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. It goes and comes. That is the material nature. And then there is another type of nature which is superior nature he discusses. I don't remember the verse exactly. But he says that remains forever. So this is his relation. And he is the controller of both. That's what he discusses in the Bhagavad Gita. So basically, Krishna has relationship with Jiva. Krishna has relationship with Prakriti also. Krishna has relationship with time. What is that relationship? In fact, Krishna tells about time in different places in different ways. In Bhagavad Gita, the most prominent verse that we often hear is that Kalosmiham Lokakshekrit. So basically, our acharyas give us this understanding that time is a representative of Krishna in the material world. When we are in the material nature, then time factor always predominates us, predominates everything in the material nature actually. It actually controls everything in the material nature. Anyone who is supreme controller, he is called Supreme Lord, right? Krishna is the Supreme Lord because he is also Supreme Controller. Krishna says in 529 Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Bhuta, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He says he is the Supreme Controller. But in the material world, Krishna doesn't act directly, but he acts through his energy called time. This time is non-different than Krishna. Why it is non-different than Krishna? Because just like Krishna, this is also Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. It is actually controlling everything in this world. So, Krishna time represents Krishna in the material realm. Then what is the relationship between Krishna and karma? It's not a direct relationship. The relationship is something like time and material nature. When Jiva wants to exploit these things, then karma actually comes out. And this karma, once it is produced, then Jiva actually becomes subordinate to this karma because he has to enjoy the fruits of good and bad activities. And that is also brought with the influence of time and the material nature. They both arrange these two things for the Jiva. So although Krishna has connection with all these four things, his prime connection is with the Jiva. Why? Because Jiva has a potency to go back to Krishna. And all other things are there just to facilitate Jiva. Of course, we are not talking about the transcendental nature that has that is non-different than Krishna actually. Krishna's transcendental nature and Krishna, they both are same. But the Bhautika Prakriti, that is the physical nature, the material nature, time and karma, these are created to facilitate Jiva's desire. And these are created by Lord. So, in that relation, we are seeing about the connection of Krishna with the material nature in the previous chapters, and then connection of Krishna with the time factor in this chapter. How Krishna actually, the calculation of time happens, because that is very important for a person who is in the material nature. Time is everything. People say that time is knowledge is power and time is wealth, right? So basically, in the material world, for a jiva who is stuck in the material world, it becomes very important for the jiva to understand what is this time factor, how this is influencing all of us. In fact, Bhagavatam says that time is experienced by different people in different ways. That's what precisely this discussion has been. Like if you see, when we go a little bit in the previous verse, we see in the 19th verse, we say the duration of Satya millennium equals 4,800 years of the years of demigod. Treta is 3,600 years of the demigod. Dwapara is 2,400 and Kali is 1,200 years of demigods. But for us, Prabhupada writes in the purport, we are experiencing 432,000 years in the Kali Yuga. And then accordingly, there is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, all these things also come into picture, or we can calculate those things. Prabhupada actually gives those numbers here. So, what I was trying to say is that demigods experience time differently. We experience time differently. Brahma experiences it differently. This is, if you take one cross section. Similarly, those who are in Satya Yuga, they experience time differently. Treta Yuga, they experience it differently. Kali Yuga people, they experience differently. Not only these differences, there is another kind of difference also. Those who are very young, they experience that time is not passing only, right? They always constantly think, when will I grow up? When will I have a bigger body like my parents' bodies, right? And those who are older people, for them time goes very fast. They have experience of it. We may say, okay, the physical time is similar to both. I mean, same for both, but the experience of time is different for both of them. As you grow old, it is usually the experience of people that the time is running so fast. I'm not getting time for anything. Anything that is important is just slipping off. I'm not able to take care of those things. Now, those who are elders in this group, they can actually testify this at the end of the talk today. We actually, I mean, this is what I have heard from some elderly people also. They say that now, my childhood was, time was not going ahead only. Now the time is running very fast. You see, this is how different people are experiencing time. Given any cross section of space, or given any cross section of the universe, given any cross section of ages, time is experienced differently by different people. A person who is spiritually advanced, for him, he experiences time in a completely different way. He experiences time in a way that it is a chance for me to actually render service to Krishna. And in fact, any activity that we take care in the spiritual realm, time almost stands still in our uh, calculation. Like, there is again, there are different ways to calculate this. I was reading a little bit about how, about time in different Vedic literatures itself. Bhagavatam, there is one particular chapter, of course, but there are other literature which were written by different devotees, like Richard Thompson and few other devotees, about how the time is experienced. It's not exclusively on time, but then there are certain places. They actually, they are also taking the knowledge from the Vedic literature only. So they actually say that. Trying to say something. They actually say that the experience of time for different people, I mean, for those who are spiritually advanced and for those who are not so advanced in spiritual thought process, for them the effect of time and the experience of time also differ. So in this particular verse that we are looking at today, Srila Prabhupada actually writes short purports. For two verses, there is no purport. So he speaks about the translational periods. We experience these translations every moment, actually, right? But some are very prominent. So, like morning Sandhya is prominent. Morning Sandhya is from night to day. There is a few hours of time. That time is considered to be spiritually surcharging, and That is called Pratah Sandhya. Similarly, there is Sayam Sandhya. Similarly, there is some Madhyanika Sandhya. So in these Sandhya periods, we are recommended to do Gayatri and other things, right? So these are the Sandhyas that we experience in a day. Similarly, there are other Sandhyas. Actually, every passing moment can be considered as a Sandhya. But then from Pratha to Madhyanika, from morning to afternoon, there is a phase of rising sun. And then from afternoon to evening, there is a phase of setting sun, right? So if this is considered in terms of sun, this part can be considered as part of dwindling sunlight, let's say dwindling power of sun on the earthly realm, right? So such periods are considered to be auspicious whenever there is a change or translational periods. These sandhyas are considered to be very auspicious. Similarly, between two yugas, there is also a sandhya. And that sandhya, just like our sandhyas in a day last for a few hours, similarly, those sandhyas last for a few hundreds of years. So this is one of the most amazing things about Vedic literature is that the cyclic, I'm not talking about the entire Vedic literature. One of the most amazing things about the explanation of time in the Vedic literature is that the cyclic nature of time. So usually most of the modern thought process has put a linear progression in time, but then Vedic literature actually put cyclic progression in time. So there will be this, and that is very natural. We can actually see it in the nature itself. See, biological clock is a cyclic clock, right? Similarly, the natural clock, the seasonal clock is a cyclic clock. Similarly, the rotation of planets is a cyclic clock, right? So it is but natural it is very easy for us to understand that the universal clock is also cyclic in nature, and different people in the different parts of universe experience time in different ways. And that's what is said here. Oh Vidura, in the Satya millennium, mankind properly and completely maintained the principles of religion, but in other millenniums, religion gradually decreased by one part as irreligion was proportionately admitted. Of course, this doesn't have uh, a direct connection with what we have discussed now. But then, what I mean to say is that this is also cyclic, right? In Satya Yuga, there is a higher proportion of people who practice dharma, and then as the time progresses, there is a decline in the number of people who practice dharma, and more adharma is increasing every day. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, "Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati abhyutthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham." Through these millenniums, actually, Krishna appears directly or through his Amsha and Kala, means his part and parcels, they come in order to re-establish Dharma. Why? Because this is like this whole material world is like that, unfortunately. This place requires a lot of maintenance, right? This place requires a lot of maintenance. Why? Because if you don't maintain this place, the tendency is always to go down. The tendency is always to, you know, have a decline in auspicious things. This is how it is. It's just like a room that we lock. Let's say for 10 years we lock a house and go somewhere. Let's say we go abroad and come back. Do you think that by the time you come back home, do you think that there will be nice rose garden grown around the house? There are nice mango trees and the whole house is very clean. Do you think it is the case? Unless somebody does that, it is not the case. Why? Because you see cobwebs everywhere, you see dust everywhere, you see a lot of unwanted plants that are growing around the house. There may be snakes in the house. All these things happen. Why? Because that that is the effect of material nature and time on any object in this particular realm. When I talk about this particular realm, it includes planets from Brahma's planet to the Patal Loka. This is one universe. Similarly, all the universe, all of them put together, come under the realm of material nature. And in all these places, the tendency is to as the time progresses, the good things actually deteriorate unless somebody comes and keeps them up. right? That is the influence of time. That is the influence of time because of which things are deteriorating. So we can say that Krishna and time, although both are same, they have different effects because they are acting in different realms. The nature of Krishna we can understand from Ishopanishad. Shuddham, Apapaviddham, these type of things are explained about Krishna. Anything that comes in contact with Krishna, although it may be completely impure, it actually becomes completely pure. Right? Why? Because Krishna is completely pure, and his purity can never decline. It keeps on increasing only. On the other hand, when anything comes in contact with the material nature, especially under the influence of time, usually we say contact with material nature, we become impure, but that is in under the influence of time that happens. Under the influence of time, although time is same as Krishna as we have discussed earlier, the influence of time on the Prakriti or the Jiva or the consciousness of the Jiva, Chaitanya, or the consciousness of the living entities is that it always declines. Even the material nature also is in a declining mode, and that is why there is a requirement that this place needs some maintenance from time to time, and that maintenance is carried out by Vishnu. So Vishnu is considered to be, Vishnu is mentioned as a person who upholds Sattva Guna. He maintains this universe. Brahma creates and Shiva destroys. Of course, Brahma doesn't create the universe, and similarly, Shiva doesn't destroy the universe in that. Brahma doesn't create the universe actually. It is Vishnu who creates the universe, gives it to Brahma, and then Brahma actually creates, the different progeny is created by Brahma. So that's the job of Brahma, job role, job description of Brahma. Similarly, Lord Shiva is called Layakaraka, that he actually, with the power of time, he actually destroys things in this world. And there is a partial destruction which happens at every end of the day of Brahma. That means Brahma is going home from his office, something like that. For today, the job is done. Next day morning, again, he comes back. And meanwhile, there is a partial destruction of the universe, which is discussed in the next sloka we have read. So there is a partial destruction. So below Brahmaloka, things are submerged. In fact, to be very precise, in the 14 planetary systems, the upper 3 planetary systems won't get affected. We have lower, we have Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Patala. These are 7. And above them, there are Bhu, that is this planetary system. Bhuvar, Swar, Maha, Jana, and Tapa, and Satyaloka. So out of these things, Jana, Tapa, and Satyaloka, Brahma's planet is Satyaloka. These 3 things won't get destroyed, but anything below this gets submerged during the partial destruction. And the template is also lost. The template of creation is lost. So next day, Brahma actually comes up with a new template. And that template, as per this shloka, Prabhupada writes that Brahma's dream, Brahma dreams of Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu. It's a very beautiful dream, right? So we say sweet dreams. When people go to bed, we wish them good night and sweet dreams. So this is Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu's way of saying sweet dreams to Brahma. He says sweet dreams, and he actually gives instruction on how to create the template the next day. Now, after the devastating effect of the time over space is taken down, the next day of, as the day begins, Brahma actually prepares to create the entire template. And after that template is created, according to the instructions of Vishnu, then the template is used for all the different species to progenate. And that is how the universe is again populated. And of course, Brahma experiences time differently. That's what we have discussed earlier. So this experience is that throughout the day of Brahma, there is always growth, just like there is, again, this is a Sandhya Kal. Sandhya is between the day and night of Brahma. Again, the night and day of Brahma. In this, there are certain activities that take care. But even then, just like we have periodic maintenance of, different machinery that is required, right? Periodic maintenance is there, and then there is overhauling maintenance or something like that they call. That is a big maintenance. Usually, most of the industries in the US, they have the maintenance during this Christmas period because this is a long leave, right? Long holiday, long vacation, 10 days, 12 days. They go on a maintenance mode. Huh? So similarly, sometimes there may be a need of smaller maintenance. At that time, some avatars they come and they establish the principles of religion and go. Sometimes there may be a need of very large maintenance. The whole world is filled with so many asura kings. At that time, Krishna, Rama, such Krishna, Rama, and such uh, personalities. Those who are the direct expansions of the Supreme Lord. They themselves actually come and do that long required maintenance. So this is how the world is maintained by the Supreme Lord. So in conclusion, I would like to just say that these topics are there within the top pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, although it doesn't appear like pure devotional service to us, just because Krishna has a relationship with this material world through two different paths. One is through the material nature, the other is through the spiritual nature. So the material nature relationship is that he is creating the universe as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and then he is creating Brahma, and then Brahma is maintaining all the living entities, and he is putting them under the influence of time. This nature requires a lot of maintenance, and that maintenance is in turn done by Vishnu only through different forms. Similarly, there is also spiritual nature, and that spiritual nature is what is the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam in entirety actually. The whole Srimad Bhagavatam, most of it discusses about the spiritual nature, and that nature doesn't require so much of maintenance. Once a jiva actually enters spiritual nature, there is no maintenance as such because the influence of time stops there. The jivas who are there in the spiritual nature, they have a different type of food. The food is Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Kadayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. They become completely satisfied, Suprasidati. They become completely satisfied in that nature. And that's why there is no requirement of any maintenance there. But in material nature, there is a lot of maintenance. So Krishna has connection with both material and spiritual natures because he is the controller of both. And also, this material nature requires a lot of maintenance. In that way, that maintenance is mainly required because of the influence of time on the material nature. So in that way, we can see the bigger picture of the entire thing. I think I'll take a pause here. I don't know if whatever I spoke in the beginning really made any sense to all of you. Maybe I misspoke something, or maybe I spoke something wrong. Please forgive me for that. I was trying to collect my thought. So I'll stop my talk here. If anyone wants to correct me, ask me anything like that, please. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Through these classes, we are also, in touch with you, and we have not lost you because you went over there. Very nice, Prabhu, to have you again. I was thinking, a reminder rather, when you said hotel or hospital, of what you used to say, ISKCON Maya Jal. It brought to my mind.
Yeah.
Very, very nice class, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Yes, it was very wonderful. Thank you always, as always. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Wish you a happy new year ahead.
Thank you, Mataji. Wish you happy new year too. In fact, Tirumala, there are so many celebrations happening because this is Margasirsha Mas, which is also called Dhanur Mas. This Vaikuntha Dwara Darshanam is going on in the on the top of the hill for 10 days, starting 23rd. I think yesterday it started. The crowd is pouring like anything. Lakhs and lakhs of people are there coming to visit Balaji, take darshan of Balaji. All temples are filled here,
I can
so
imagine.
much, so many devotees all around.
Hare Krishna. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Mhm.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Yeah, nice to see you in video also. So because of these classes, so thank you so much, and sparing your time and busy schedule, right? So I mean, especially during this time. So thank you so much. So for this whole section, Prabhu, the time, I mean, like very, very technical, and I mean, the lot of details are given, very fine details. I mean, as you said, I mean, the technology itself, right? We think that we are very, very matured in the current days, but yeah, from the what is that called? That archaeology. I mean, based on something they did at this rock age or stone age or iron age, right? So, I mean, I think yeah, that the way you explained it, I mean, it makes very sense because some places even in the current modern age, right? I mean, I think you're talking about Africa, but I was watching some video some time ago with the children
Mhm.
in Andaman or somewhere, right? There are still islands, right? People they don't even are connected with the outside world, right? Though they are
Right.
under the control of India. I mean,
Right.
right? Nobody can go there. I mean, people like us cannot go there. I mean, if we go, we'll not be able to come back by life, right?
Yeah.
We'll be dead. So they are,
Sentinelese. Those are called the Sentinelese tribes.
yeah. If somebody does a, I mean, study after maybe 1,000 years or 2,000 years of that area, people think, oh,
Yeah.
1,000 years back, people doesn't have it.
Right.
Right? Because there
Yes,
is no
Prabhu.
history
Yes.
of more than I think I mean the history goes back only up to 3,000 years, if I'm right,
Mm.
right? So I mean there is
Mm.
no record of those activities prior to that, right? So it's very yeah. Thank you, bro.
That's true,
Yeah,
Prabhu. I was hearing it from a devotee actually. He was telling this point that if you go and dig something in, let's say, South Africa, even now it is not very advanced country. What would have been there 2,000 years ago?
yeah.
Similarly, you go to different parts of world, uh, we can actually see that many parts are still not very advanced.
Mm, mm,
So they won't actually showcase what was the reality that time. But if we dig in places like India, I think we will get much more deeper perspective. Like we see in Dwarka, there are temples below temples. Can you imagine that? There is a temple under the earth, and below that, the archaeological people have surveyed and they have seen underneath the temple there is another temple which was dated much behind. I mean, so many years before the upper temple.
mm.
So this kind of things are there.
So I mean these things are recorded in the scriptural books, right? I mean like Bhagavatam and all. I mean how the technology was there. I mean like in Dwaraka, how many palaces were there, right? So
Yeah.
16,000, such a small place. So I mean materially speaking, right? So and then also if we talk about this Ramasetu and all, there's I mean millions of years ago it was built, right, under a sea. So even the temples that we see in South India, right, especially those temples, I don't know how they can build it in the current technology, using the current technology. I don't know.
That's
So
that's what I was actually. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Prabhu.
yeah, yeah. So just
I was actually thinking this, that if anybody who challenges the scriptural, I mean the scientific advancement in the scriptural age, let's say the Vedic age, there is only one thing which I want them to do: just rebuild, a replica of an existing temple which is from 1,000 years ago.
mm, mm,
Let's take something like Sri Rangam temple.
yes.
Let's say 1,000 years ago it was built. With all the modern technology, use it and try to replicate it. That's all.
Mm,
Even that is not possible today.
yes.
So that actually clearly tells us that that they were much more advanced. Like recently, there was this voting between some building in Paris or somewhere in Italy, I think,
Mm,
and the temple in Cambodia, which is called Angkor Wat. There is I mean, this is the world's largest temple actually. Angkor Wat. There is a Vishnu temple, it is in Cambodia,
mm,
and that is the largest temple in the world. And according to one of the calculations, these people, according to the number of years they have built this temple, they should have processed at least a few tons of rock every minute. So that's the calculation that I mean we can actually calculate and derive that. In every minute they were actually processing around 10 tons of rock. Now how is that possible? So these kind of evidences are there with us. And these temples cannot be replicated today. It's not possible. So that itself shows that the people were very advanced in the world. Sorry, I was interrupting you.
No. That was, yeah, that's what I was saying, because we visited recently the Udupi Yatra with His Holiness Romapad Maharaj. I mean, there are some temples in the Karnataka, Prabhu, Begur and Belwar. Oh God, I mean, it's like nobody can identify, I mean, the finer details, right? So that are in, I mean, there in the constructing the temple. I don't, I mean, it is possible to do it now anyway. So the other point, Prabhu, I was just thinking the purport Prabhupada mentioned, right? So Brahma in his sleeping condition, he dreams about Garbhodak Sai Vishnu. It's very interesting actually. So I don't remember reading that
Hmm.
earlier when I read it. So,
At least when I read, I felt that we don't have access to our own dreams, right? Most of the times when we wake up, we forget our dreams. But Srila Prabhupada has access to Brahma's dreams.
yeah.
That's that's very amazing, actually.
Yes. Thank you,
That's
Prabhu.
true.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Nice to see you again, Prabhuji. So nice, as usual, very fresh and inspiring, you know. So, there are a number of points you touched upon, and even the discussion that you were having with Lakshmikant Prabhu or with Sandhya Mataji, more. One of the things I started off with when you mentioned instruments, how, the earlier civilizations did not have instruments, and we, with so much instruments, were able to, So, one of the things that comes to my mind is probably we are very, very, what do you say, handicapped. That's why we need so many instruments. If they were able to do so precise measurements, alignments, and stuff like that, why is it science and scientists require so much more? For example, we were talking about rebuilding constructing a temple of the same magnitude. These temples don't have foundations.
Yes.
They're what do you say, earthquake proof, centuries to centuries. They don't deteriorate, and their
Right.
alignment is so precise with the solstice or the star of whatever it is supposed to be. It is so precise, amazed at the alignments. On the appointed day, the sun will fall through different parts of the deity, starting from the leg all the way to the head or the other way around. And even when you look at things like the what do you call the pyramids in Egypt and all those, these are massive structures. Nowadays when we build roads or bridges, we have a lot of problems even aligning them. Sometimes they align so badly that they have to destroy and rebuild some of the places, for alignment. I 2 years ago I was in India and I was reading a newspaper. There was this building, a science building that ISRO and somebody else were cooperating to build. And in the front of that building, they wanted to bring the sunlight, on the solstice. And do you know how much technology they had to use? They had to use AI, they had to use machinery so that the mirror can be repositioned and all of this. Imagine none of the temples, whether you take Padmanabha temple or you take the Nataraja temple or whatever other
Monarch
ones.
Sun Temple.
Yeah, Konark Sun Temple. You take these things. No, there is no moving parts. Correct? With so much advanced maths and all those things that we climb as advanced, we need so many moving parts to do it. So the same way, you were talking about removing, like handling rocks and other things. Kailashnath temple, when you look at Kailashnath temple, they have to have removed millions and millions of tons of rocks in a given. So that's why they come up with these atrocious periods. Oh, they should have built it over 200 years or 300 years. No, they did it in 12 years. The scriptures, the local legends, everything say 12 precise years they built it. So yeah, Prabhuji, science, knowledge, maybe the current civilization thinks we are more intelligent than anyone else. That's not true, Prabhuji. We are babies in front of them.
In fact, sorry, Prabhu, please.
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhuji. Go ahead.
I was just saying that even science, in one sense, actually accepts that. I was reading this interesting article when I was in the US itself. I was reading that actually the modern advancement has uh, uh, what do we call? We have what is called an evolution, right? In the
Hmm.
science speaks about evolution. That
Yeah.
I mean, one species evolves into another species, or
Hmm.
the existing species evolves into much better species, depending on the survival
Hmm.
of the fittest principle. So even the science, or the people who are behind science,
Hmm.
are feeling now that the modern advancement has hampered, or it has tampered into our evolution process, because we
Hmm.
are too much dependent on these so many gadgets nowadays, not only the electronic ones, as you said, we need extended hands, extended eyes, extended legs, extended everything for
Hmm.
doing things in today's world, right? All these things are actually what they feel is that is tampering with the process of evolution, because we are depending on them. We are not actually evolving into better and better human beings. Just like
Yeah.
they compared with between a stone age man and a modern man, because stone
Hmm.
age man did not have so many technological advancements at his disposal.
Yeah.
He was trying to make himself better, make himself better, make himself better, and finally evolved into a human being like us. Now, because we are depending so much on technology, we don't have a chance to evolve. That's what they are feeling actually, although we
Yeah.
don't trust evolution itself, but this is what is they're saying,
Yes,
right?
Prabhu. Yeah. I completely agree with what you said. I was reading a article a few years ago. They were comparing the current day Olympic athletes with 18th and 19th century normal average citizen. you know the average citizen in those ages would be well ripped and well exercised, that he would be faster than some of the Olympic athletes today. You're right. And the second point I wanted to talk about was, how time impacts everyone, in a different way. And I was wondering about the moment of time. Actually, in the purports, Prabhupada actually says even the moment of time can be experienced differently. For example, if you put up a book distribution table in front of the hotel, people's reaction is so different, and they're like, hey, we are here and what are these guys? They are everywhere. you know Whereas you go to the hospital and you bring a Bhagavad Gita or something to somebody, they are elated. The same thing when you're in a kirtan or in the temple, one person is enjoying, whereas another person is in total pain. You know, total pain. So this moment of time itself is experienced differently by different people. So just wanted to give my observation, Prabhuji. Any thoughts on that? I'll take it offline.
That's
Thank you.
that's completely true, Prabhu. Yeah, that's a wonderful point that you have brought up. That's true, Prabhu. I agree with that. How people experience even the same moment of time is different depending on so many factors. I think Bhagavad Gita speaks about 5 different factors. Those are the broad factors, but there can be so many intermediate factors, and some not so significant factors. All these things actually, make it such a highly complex mechanism, highly complex system, we would say. We can say like that. And I think that is why people have tough time understanding what do we call what scriptures are saying. Scriptures are saying a simple solution for all these things, that is practice devotional service, and you will go to a place where there is no influence of time. Adgatva nani vartante tadhama paramam mama. Krishna is saying that. But accepting such a true, I mean, the maybe a modern man would look at it like this. He may think that this complex mathematical problem, we can say, I mean, this can be designed into a mathematical problem, definitely, has a very too simple to believe solution, right? And I think that is where they have difficulty in understanding or accepting the spiritual path also. That's my thought, Prabhu. I think what you spoke definitely made sense.
And the aspect of time is the same even with other physical dimensions that we all experience.
Hmm.
Everyone experience the so much difference, but we don't want to acknowledge it. you know. So thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you for bringing that point. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the wonderful devotees keeping us in your heart while you have so much going on and such wonderful place with so many devotees, particularly as you were saying, it's pouring, like the devotees are pouring in. It's very wonderful, Prabhu, whenever you speak. It's all nice discussions, but I'm not like so intellectual like you guys. Three of you are discussing. My thoughts were just stuck with that. I don't have time. That has been the theme we have been discussing, and how valuable it is. We cannot get it how much ever we, want to. One thing, as you were saying, this particularly with the age, younger age, we may not realize, but with the age, how it's so true. As you were speaking, just this thought came to me. Before meeting the devotees, I always felt I didn't have time. And when the devotees asked, you can start chanting one round, like attend this one, like, once in a week Bhakti Vriksha. I'm like, there is no way I have that time. Even for one round, where do I have time? And then now, whatever, attentive, inattentive, I'm trying to chant and then doing a little bit, whatever, one or two services. Krishna has expanded the time, or probably replaced some of those, useless material activities with this. But what's interesting is, even now I'm feeling I don't have time. And probably even more than the quote unquote materialistic people, that there is so much more to do, even in terms of devotional service. I'm sorry, it's already late, but just
No, please
seeing
go ahead.
you with this class, I hope it's not
Please go ahead.
getting late for you. Yeah,
No problem.
it's getting even more and more. So I was just thinking, is this how we have to continue to live in this? Like, I don't have enough time for doing this I want to do. Or as this last point about our experience of this moment of time, because oftentimes what happens is, when we are in that, I'm not present in this moment, even chanting or the other services, constantly this to-do list is going on, even the devotional activities. So just bringing it out, Prabhu, just want to have some discussion on that. Yeah.
That's really nice to bring up that point, Mataji. Thank you very much. I think this. I was trying to analyze this a little bit in a technical way. What I understood was, I may not be able to put it in a completely plain, easy to understand way, but I'll try to do that, Mataji. So basically, we experience our existence through the mind. We don't experience our existence through the body, actually. I mean, we experience it through our mind. Because body is always dead. Any experience that we have is actually stored in the mind, and we try to relate with the world through the mind. And the pace or the rate at which if we write, mathematically, if we write an unstudied term, you understand this very well, d by dt term. This d by dt of mind tends to infinity, actually. So when I say the rate at which the mind changes is almost at a very high speed, at a very high rate, it changes itself.
I
So
really
that's why.
like that. I really like that.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Because see, I know Dhawan Prabhu and you both are mechanical engineers, and you understand. I'm also that. So I do this CFD unstudied term. Dealing with that is very difficult, actually. To do that implicit, explicit, all these calculations, basically. Anyways, so d by dt of mind is it always tends towards infinity, Mataji. So we can actually, if we try to, I would say, if we try to reduce the speed of mind, I think we actually will have a better quality of life. That is because before we reap the good results of some action or some thought in the mind, we are already onto something else. Before we actually focus on that, we are already onto something else. So, because the mind is fluctuating at such a high frequency, it is very difficult for us to experience or live in any moment. And that is the cause of frustration for most of the people in this world. If this can be somehow avoided or this can be rectified or dealt with, I think people will have a very happy and healthy life. Why? Because the most, I mean, the part of our existence which tortures us is that we are not able to experience the happiness that the scriptures are promising us. And that is because mind doesn't allow us to experience that because of its high rate of fluctuations. That is why when we actually sit down for chanting, and sometimes by the grace of Krishna and Guru and the devotees around us, our chanting goes very well. And when we say chanting goes very well, my experience of that is that I am able to bring down the frequency of the mind even by a little bit. If it calms down, it can focus on the sound vibration. If it can actually connect with Krishna, we actually experience, I don't know if this is a right term to use, but we actually experience something called a timelessness. That for us, time is not flowing at all. And a good chanting, the sign of good chanting, as mentioned by His Grace Indra Prabhu, is that after 16 rounds, if you still feel like I want to do more chanting, that is a very good chanting. But after 16 rounds, we just want to hang our bead bag and say, okay, bye bye for today. It's not a very good chanting, actually. I never feel the first thing, I always feel the second thing only. But what very few times I had this desire to chant more. And when I had that desire to chant more, it is almost always because my 16 rounds or whatever rounds I had chanted till that point of time are with a very peaceful mind where the fluctuation is very less and the quality is very good. And I think that is what we kind of experience when we go beyond the realm of time. That's what I feel, Mataji. Again, there may be, this is my opinion. This is my a little bit of experience that I wanted to share in connection with whatever you have spoken, Mataji. So,
That's so
does it make
beautiful,
any sense,
Prabhu.
Mataji?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's very beautiful. I really love the way you have put it through, the technical terms, that mind frequency. I was able to connect to that. And also how you actually brought that to the timelessness. It's so amazing. And I really like that how we experience that and how it's actually taking us. Whenever I hear this Susukham Kartum Avyayam, I'm okay now, kind of an acceptance stage. I used to get a little bit angry on Krishna. Like, come on, why are you saying this? I don't experience this. That means you're not saying it correct. I know it sounds foolish, but I understand it's right. But, my impatience or, intolerance of not able to experience that, I was expressing to Krishna like that, complaining. But this is so beautiful in any moment, right? Like we are walking out and just looking at the nature or something, just taking that moment, or just be with a little kid, they're smiling at us, just being in that moment and, really connect to the other person. How much of, that lasting connection that one moment of presence and connection brings. So that's really beautiful, Prabhu. So I was thinking whether it's a material activity at office or, home. I think that bringing the mind space, as you're talking about this infinity, I had this experience. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I sit to chant or whatever. I'm sitting in front of the computer at work. I'm sitting in the chair. or wherever, but I can see my mind actually running. I mean, I can like visually see like running at so fast speed, and I'm trying to hold it up. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of subtle. It's crazy. I'm like, can you slow down? Can you slow down? I can't catch up with you. I could literally feel that like in a tangible way. So I was relating to that when you were saying the infinity d by dt of mind.
In
It's
fact,
very beautiful.
in fact,
Beautiful.
there is a verse in Brahma Samhita which says, "Vayo rathapi manaso munipungavana." So
Yeah.
even if we, if they go at the speed of mind, they cannot reach Krishna. So when I was reading this, I was trying to understand. I was trying to just meditate on this. Actually, if we want to reach Krishna, we should not go at the speed of mind. We should actually sit down at one place and let the mind also sit with us. Then
Yeah,
we
I
can
know
actually reach
it's the
Krishna.
opposite. It's the
Yeah.
opposite. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really love that Andhra Prabhu's thing you brought up. How much we are able to present with the holy name, how much more we want to. It's so true. I mean, even though it's very rare, but those moments of attentive and like really with feeling that connection to Krishna and the holy name, uh, I don't want to stop chanting. I mean, particularly, I had that experience, thankfully, because of a festival of holy name, when we had the opportunity, don't have anything else on the to-do list for that day, just sit and chant how much ever you want. It's like, wow, can every day be like this? Yeah,
So that is,
beautiful.
in my understanding, that is what is timelessness. We go
Mm,
beyond the realm of time.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the extra time.
Thanks a lot to each and every Vaishnavi who is present here for encouraging me with your presence. I'm offering my prayers to Lord Balaji here for well-being of ISKCON Naperville Temple and all the congregation that is associated to that. May all your efforts, by the blessings of Balaji Bhagwan, I sincerely pray that all your efforts are, get the results millionfold. So, with that, I would like to take leave and be in your presence once again. If I don't stop this, then how will I come back again in the next month? So, thank you very much, Lakshmikant Prabhu, and all the Vaishnavas. कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। वृंदराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.